Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video. I found myself back on the holy island, Lindisfarne, and the good thing about coming to a place that you've been several times before is it puts you under quite a bit of pressure to try and find something new. But I have two things that I've earmarked to do. One of them is relatively straightforward, albeit I have to get my timing right, but the second one could potentially be positively dangerous or stupid, or both. The first shot, which is really reliant upon getting my timing right, there's a rather large boat out in the bay, and when the tide goes out it sits heavily on the floor, but it sits on the floor and it tilts forward, so it's really ugly, especially with all the mud around it. So the idea of this, or the reason why I need to get my timing right, is because I want to wait until the tide's in far enough so the boat actually sits up, but the boat still rests on the floor. I'm then going to take a 2-minute exposure. If I can gain a 2-minute exposure on this bright and sunny day, then the idea is it's going to be really minimalistic. The boat will be perfectly still in the water. The water will be turned into an ice skating rink with a 2-minute exposure, and of course we're going to complement the boat with a really nice background of the castle. So that's looking pretty nice. No battery, good start. So let's go through my routine. I know I need a long shutter speed, so ISO 50 is the order of the day. Straight to f16, live view, histogram, and let's see what shutter speed we're going to end up with there. I'm really struggling to see. Perfect. My target figure is 1/8 of a second, which is brilliant, and that 1/8 of a second will then offer me a 2-minute exposure with a 10-stop filter. So the idea behind this shot is I intend to turn the water into an ice skating rink. Fingers crossed that boat will be perfectly still in the water. Everything else won't be. They'll be bobbing around, which will probably look a real mess. So I'll probably take my time in post-production to remove all those wobbly boats and keep it really minimalistic. So therefore, hopefully I should end up with a boat in the foreground and the castle in the background. Now, the only slight drawback with this, I'm not close enough to the boat in the foreground to create a gap between the foreground and the background. Because I'm using a 70 to 200mm lens, okay, I'm only at 100mm, but that'll compress the background probably a bit too much. It'll bring the background close to the foreground. I like it, or I much prefer it, if there was separation between them both. I'm clearly not going to get that from here, but I just want to see if I can fulfill my thought process with actually taking a picture, following it through, if that makes sense. But like I say, I only want to just have 1 or 2 cracks at this, because I'm really here for my second picture, which is, like I said earlier, likely to be a little bit dangerous, to say the least. Right, so let's see how that looks. It looks fine. It looks fine on the back of my camera. It looks fine. All right, I'll take 1 more for luck, then I'll crack on to location number 2. Right, so these are the groins that most photographers, including myself, will place in the foreground as foreground interest. To use as foreground interest, shooting against the castle. But of course this shot is always captured with the tide out, and rightly so, because it looks fantastic. But what I've never seen anybody photograph this when the tide is in. Probably for very good reason, because it means now I'm going to have to go out there, get my feet soaking wet and stay there for as long as I dare, so that the tide comes in and covers all of these rocks, and then hopefully, I mean the sea is calm enough at the moment, hopefully I can capture the shot that I want to capture, but with a 2-minute exposure, flattening all this water out. It's just a way of doing something that nobody else has done before, or it's just a different way of challenging yourself, I'm guessing. Right, so I've got to get myself out and try and find a composition. I'm going to give up when the water gets to me sack. I think I'm happy with that. Dare I go a bit further? No, I dare not. Just for the record, I'm not sure if this will work. I know this side of it will work, I know the technical side of it will work, but I'm not sure if the picture as a whole will look particularly brilliantly. I was hoping to go and get myself on the right hand side of this big stanchion here, on the right hand side of that one, but it's not looking likely that I'll be able to do that. Right, anyway, okay, so let's just get myself set up. Just the same as earlier, I'm going to leave my settings exactly the same, the light hasn't changed. So ISO 50, I'm on f16 at 1/8 of a second. Yeah, the histogram is looking perfect, so at 1/8 of a second, drop my 10-stop filter on the front of the lens, and we're good to go for 2 minutes. Just got myself a nice composition. I'm going to focus on these posts right in front of me here at f16. That'll make everything in focus, so that should be fine. It's not that cold, by the way. It's like the very first time you jump in the sea, you know, it's that moment, but then after that it's fine. I dare say when the water gets a bit higher I might have another one of those moments. Everything is in place. Everything is in place except my 10-stop filter. Let's throw my 10-stop filter on the front of the lens, and then all we've got to do is wait it out. But something tells me that I won't be waiting here for too long. I won an award for a picture I took from here in 2013. That's a long time ago. I'll show you, I won't show you the picture just yet. I'll show you the picture of where I took that image from after I've captured this picture here. And then I'm going to replicate it, but I'm going to change it up again. I'm going to take the same shot, but with the tide in. Again, all will become very clear very soon. Just checking, never thought. I'd check my pockets, make sure I haven't got any money in there. That'd be a first if I had money in there. Right, I think I'm going to call it at that. I've got to the point where the water's where I want the water to be. I could probably risk it a little bit more, but I'm going to be stuck over here with wet pants. In 2013 I took this very same picture and I entered it into a competition and got an award for it, which was at the time, as you can imagine, I was very, very impressed with. So again, because I'm here today, I just thought I'd come back and try and retake that same shot, but this time a little bit differently. This time I've waited for the tide to cover this ring that's in the foreground. and I think it might add just a bit more spice or a bit more interest. But once again, the reason why I'm doing this is because I think by now this is probably a commonly shot location, or certainly a commonly shot composition that I'm grabbing now. But in my defense, because I've shot it before, I'm trying something just a little bit different. I may have left it a little bit too late. I think the tide might be a little bit too far in. But with a 2-minute exposure, I've got on the go now. Let's just take it and see what it looks like. I'll be very surprised if I manage to grab that shot. I think I've probably left it a little bit too late. I think maybe I should have shot it as the tide was a little bit lower. But oh well, right, okay, so that's that one taken care of. And now what I want to do is actually photograph these groins, the groins that I was shooting a minute ago behind me here, but I'm going to shoot them in a fine art style, a real minimalistic composition and a real minimalistic image. So with this shot, I'm just going to be utilising the groins that I was shooting earlier while I was in the water, but I'm going to create this as a fine art image. In other words, there's nothing going on. I'm going to flatten the sea. The only thing of any interest in the image at all will be the groins. I've got a couple of compositions in mind. One is a nice wide open shot with a bunch of groins on the bottom right hand side. And the second one is using my 24 to 105mm lens. I'm going to zoom in and from a higher perspective have nothing in the image except groins and sea. Again, it's going to be a real minimalistic and a real fine art feel. So hopefully this is something that you're interested in, or if you're not, I seriously suggest that you give it a go, because it's quite a lot of fun to do, and also it's something that you could do right in the middle of the day during the summer when the skies and the lighting is really, really pants. So yeah, if you're looking for something to shoot during the day when the lighting is really bad, then why not give this a go.